Hello everybody, G.Kenner. Some people call me a frugal craftsman. Well, I am what I am. And when I save money, I find that I can do more projects, which is really my goal, and I bet you it's your goal too. I walked into a lumber store in Arizona about 2 years ago, and I found a piece of wood that just cried out to be made into a dining room table, but it had a big crack in it, and it needed to be filled with black epoxy. I just took their word for it, and I bought the epoxy and all the supplies that I needed. I had a little leak. It wasn't catastrophic, but epoxy really makes a mess. So what I decided to do was I wanted to do another project, and I wanted to do a big round disc to make a coffee tabletop. And I did not want to go through the hassle of leaking epoxy. So I made a great big mold, and I also researched, was I getting the best deal on epoxy? That turned into another video because I discovered some things that were really interesting. And I found that the least expensive magic resin was probably equal to, if not better than, the most expensive. Now I did a video on that. I'll put a link to it at the end. So if you want to see that, you can. They sent me this box of epoxy and told me it was free. They says, we'd really like to see how you made that mold. So what we're going to go through is the mold. And at the end of the video, I'm going to share with you how I selected the proper silicone to do the job. Now, what I did was, the first one that I did, I went and got some construction foam and merely took a combination of saws. I did the hot wire technique, and I built the mold and then just poured it and delaminated it. Now, since then, I've done 2 more molds. I did a square one, and I just did this round one. Now, the round one, what I did was, because each one of these is very good in shape for the item that I'm going to make, but they were a little rugged. They just didn't quite work as well. So I went over to my Eon laser and I cut an exactly perfect disc. Now I found that lasers can be utilized for so many different things, including making tools. Now this was made in a silicone pie pan that my girlfriend, Grace, wanted to try. She loved it so much that I decided that we would go make a much bigger one, because there's not much use for this other than a trivet. This you could utilize as a plate, a serving dish, even a cutting board. So the process that I went through was really just take this and make multiple layers and fashion this together. It was really very easy. I used painter's caulk to bind them all together. Then to measure out the amount of silicone that I would need, I did a water test. I poured water into this, measured the amount of water that I would need, and then calculated the amount of silicone. Now you can do that other ways to calculate how much epoxy you're going to need. I've seen people take rice and pour rice in until they got it to the right level, take a vacuum it out, and then measure the rice just by measuring it up. And they added about 15% to the amount of epoxy they need, and then they made their pour. It really is not that hard. It's much easier than one would think. Now, one of the hardest things that I did, and I find this in the entire industry, even for woodworking tools, trying to do the research necessary to get the right compound. Now, what I did was I found that a platinum-based silicone is probably best. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the technical aspects of how I did this, how I made the selection, and why. After hours of research, I found there is not a single standardized rating system across manufacturers for silicone mold making materials. But these properties are commonly used as benchmarks. Shore hardness, this measures the hardness of the cured silicone rubber. It's typically measured on the Shore A or Shore D scale. Higher numbers indicate greater hardness. For mold making, you generally want a silicone with a higher Shore hardness to ensure durability and dimensional stability.
Tear strength. This measures the resistance of the cured silicone to tearing. It's crucial for demolding complex shapes without damaging the mold. Tear strength is a consideration for more intricate molds. Tensile strength. This measures the maximum amount of tensile pulling force the silicone can withstand before breaking. A higher tensile strength indicates a stronger and more durable material. Elongation at break. This measures the ability of the silicone to stretch before breaking. Higher elongation at break allows for more flexibility, which can be beneficial for demolding and handling the most masseurs. Specific gravity. This measures the density of the silicone rubber. It's an important factor to consider when calculating material usage and cost. Cure time. This refers to the time it takes for the silicone to fully cure and become ready for use. Faster cure times can be advantageous for speeding up the mold making process, but may also require more precise handling. These properties, along with any additional specifications provided by the manufacturer, can help you determine which platinum cure silicone is best suited for your specific mold making needs. Always consult the manufacturer's technical data sheets and guidelines for detailed information on a particular silicone product. Many companies will respond to emails to discuss your project so you get the right silicone for the job. After all this research, platinum cure silicone was clearly the most strongly recommended for the type of mold I would be making.
After making this square mold, I had about a half a gallon worth of silicone left. I needed just a little bit more, so what I did was I went back to the same manufacturer. And I purchased this on Amazon. I have an Amazon store. There'll be a link to the store so you can go down and see the products that I buy for my shop. And I am frugal. The Pixis was the name of the company. The first time I got 2 gallons for the price that everyone else was selling 1 gallon for. I tried to duplicate that, but when they sent it to me, only 1 gallon arrived. So there's either been a pricing change or there was a mistake made by Amazon or Pixis. But this is the quality of the mold that I came. This is probably about 3/4 of an inch thick because I want a very durable mold. When I put this in and I have, say, a piece of mesquite or some ironwood and it's a little bit jagged, I don't want it ripping the mold. And I also don't want the sides of the mold not supporting the epoxy as I pour it in. If you have any questions, I have a Facebook group called Laser Freedom. You're more than welcome to come in there and ask me any questions. Almost always in a short video, you're going to leave something out. If you're thinking about making one of these, I'd be happy to answer your questions. I also have an email address that I put in each one of the videos, so you're welcome to go there and email me also. I want to help everybody get as involved as they possibly can, as inexpensively as they can, so one, they can either make the most amount of money if this is a little bit of a side gig, or two, have more money to do more projects. I found that Magic Resin was, a fantastic company, and thank you very much for sending me a little free epoxy. Sharing the truth with my audience paid off. Have a very good day. Let me know if I can help. Thank you.